And arriving in beautiful fashion.
There he is.
On a golf cart driven by another massive human being.
Another first
wearing
rounder.
a suit that is only top of the line. A man who walks around and hands out hundreds to people. A man that gives away more money than any other human you've ever encountered. A man who has paid for everything I've ever done. Ladies and gentlemen, Jim Irsay.
Good to see you, brother.
Good to see you as well, man.
Now, Pat, you don't get 100 because you're already making, hundreds of millions of dollars.
I'll make sure this gets on there.
In fact, I was going to see you about a loan, possibly.
No. I'm not. No loan for you, obviously. You have had a hell of a run, hell of a life. We could dive into all of that, but since we're at training camp, we might as well talk about this particular team. Boston Connor over there, he's a Patriots fan scumbag.
Sorry, Jim.
Hey, he's
Good to see you.
Yeah,
Good to see you, too.
That's okay. We love good rivals.
Yeah, absolutely. But whenever he moved here, I don't think he knew much about you. Then he's heard you speak and your expectations and learn more about you. You want this team to win multiple championships. Matt Ryan here, do you get a feeling you're closer? Do you get a feeling from being around the team? I know you're very invested.
No question. I think, the interesting thing is that Matt is kind of on the same mission that this franchise is, where, he was in that Super Bowl against the Patriots and what the greatest comeback ever and that difficult loss. And so we feel the same way as a franchise. You see Green Bay after Favre with Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, yeah.
You see Denver win after John Elway. You see Pittsburgh win after Cowher and those things. And so generationally, to be a great organization, we have to go and create this new Lombardi era where that's what great organizations do. And it's really about the horseshoe and about continuing. Look at, we're the fourth most winningest team in the NFL since 2000.
Is that good? Is that good? I don't know.
I think it's really good. And obviously we won 115 games in the decade that Peyton was there, which hadn't been done, and at the same time, my expectations were, we wish we would have had more than one Super Bowl, a la the Patriots, with such great teams in our way and different things that happened that didn't get that done. But, we were great. We won a great Super Bowl, went to another and lost, won 2 home AFC championship games, and, had a chance to have 2 home AFC championship game wins and host a Super Bowl within a 5-year period, which has never been done. But as a franchise, it's about the Lombardis. You look at Pittsburgh, you look at Green Bay, you look at New England, and it's about over a long period of time.
Hell yeah, sustained success. I think you've always chit-chatted about, and being able to go from one era to the next, you're able to do in beautiful fashion with Andrew Luck. I was very fortunate to be in the building for both the Peyton era and the Andrew Luck area. Now we're getting into a new one here. Obviously Carson last year, Phillip Rivers 2 years ago. What do you think the team has done, and what have you done, you feel like, to take this team to the next step? Last year, Clowntown, we've talked about Clowntown was a heartbristic. I mean, that was absolute heartbreaker.
Ever since we got back that night and midnight, Chris Ballard and Frank Reich and I, after Jacksonville, really thrown into this cauldron I've almost never witnessed of great, I won't say despair, but certainly tremendous self-evaluation of the whole how it's not that you got there, but now how did you get there and how do you fix it? Why did you end up having that sort of collapse? And I think, the great thing is when you look at this franchise, it's undeniable. You look at the special teams last year, 2 block punts, just overall coverage with Bubba as being one of the greatest special team coaches in the league. And you look at what we've done, you can say it was the best special team. You can look at Jonathan Taylor and say, hey, this is the best running back in football, along with Tennessee's great back. And you can obviously see that offensive line and have, a Hall of Fame player like Quentin Nelson and other guys, Pro Bowlers like Kelly and Braden Smith, who should be in the Pro Bowl. And then, of course, you can look at that defense, who had the most takeaways of anyone, which is so hard to create.
You're going to be so excited here.
No, but then you add, that's what I'm saying, then we add Matt Ryan, and we add some great veteran free agents, then we add the draft, and we have guys coming back healthy that we're hoping, can do great things, guys that were nicked up and couldn't quite play last year. And so we really feel good about it. I know all 32 teams right now feel good about it.
Not all of them. Do you see what your team did to the Lions today? Your team looks very good. You're right, though. Everybody has hope at this point of the season.
The rose-colored glasses are on until the season starts, and as it should be, and because there's always surprises that come up and dark horses and things like that rise. But, for us, I really feel there's real reason why we ought to have a chance for greatness and something special. And again, Matt Ryan and this franchise, kind of going after two things so much that you both want.
Almost.
Well, exactly. And I think, Pat, that you have great players and every player counts to help you win. But that quarterback, you have to have that right. In this league, it's a quarterback-driven league. And if that position is off kilter, you're going to struggle. But let me say this. Peyton Manning was healthy, young in 2001 and was 6-10 because you have to surround him. You have to do more than just have that great quarterback.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that gets lost is you've been around the game so long, and listening to you chit-chat, you invest and love the team. So whenever you say you want 2 championships, I strictly believe that's because you want to experience that again, what you guys had whenever the whole city showed up. It feels like Colts fans are ready for this team to explode. Matt Ryan's been beloved. Darius has a question for you.
Hey, you've been around the game for a long, long time, and obviously championship, this is where it starts, in training camp, right? You've seen great coaches, great players, great general managers. You saw Bill earlier. What's been your favorite moment from training camps over your years?
That's a great question. I have to admit that, this is my 51st year, and
holy, hey,
Jesus,
you're an old man now.
Don't tell anyone.
Yeah, you're an old man.
And really, I can't duplicate what it was like being a ball boy and having the guys like you be my older brothers and mentor me. And being around, having Johnny Unitas put my, tray down at lunch and say, son, move your ass, and looking up and seeing Johnny Unitas, seeing Bubba Smith in training camp, and then, starting to go down those tracks, and it was so special. Probably, the time in training camp when, Johnny came up to me as a 12-year-old kid. Like, that's a thing like that you remember the most, because I was so blessed. Like, I was just back home because we had some shows in Chicago with the memorabilia and stuff.
Jim Irsay collection coming to town.
Went to the church I got married in 42 years ago. George Hallis was there.
Wow.
George Hallis. And I was blessed enough to, it's like saying Biden saying, well, George Washington was at my wedding. We're talking about the founder, and so I'm so blessed. If I would have been born 4 or 5 years later, I would have missed out on not knowing Paul Brown, not knowing George Hallis, not knowing Art Rooney Sr. My first meeting ever, Art Rooney Sr., and in fact, his son was so much older than me that Dan's, of course, passed away now, and Art II's running. But, he gave me a cigar at my first meeting in 1981 in Palm Springs, California. And those things just stick with you because these mentors, one thing they taught me is don't grab every dollar, protect the game.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's all about the game. And one thing you guys taught me when I was a kid, and believe me, Lydell Mitchell, Glenn Dowdy, Burt Jones, Ray Chester, they instructed me very carefully about what it means to take care of the players and understand. And that's the reason I went to SMU and played. And my teammate Byron Hunt played with Lawrence Taylor and those sort of things because I wanted to experience what that's like. And I think I exactly know everyone in the organization. When I see equipment struggling because something happened wrong before the game, a trunk didn't come in. You know, I worked equipment. I worked the ticket office. I started picking up jock straps. I scouted on the road. I scouted Jerry Rice when we went to the school, and you couldn't even see his number back then because you had to bring your projector in, and the film was so bad at a small school, and you'd have to have a bottle of whiskey to give to the coach, and say, hey, could I get in that projector room before, the guy with, the Packers, because it would be that way, So blessed, I can go on about Dahn.
Hold on, so let's talk about this. You're an old school guy, right? You are an old school guy. You've been around. You've been at every single job in the NFL and in football. The game's changing, right? And even these Guardians caps, and listen, I know the talking points, okay? I get it. All right, 10% less and everything like that. But as this game changes, is there a little bit of a fear? Like, because what Hallis said to you and what Rooney said, like, protect the game. Every decision that's made, new ownership too, Jim. Like, what's the future of the NFL look like, you think?
Well, there's no question you nurture that and take care of it so carefully because it's about the game and it's about the owners that come in that understand they're stewards of the game, and people like Lamar Hunt taught me I'm not an owner, I'm a steward. I'm responsible. I teach my children, look, if you're going to do eventually what I do, if you're going to be a princess and become a queen, you behave a certain way. You have a responsibility to many. And it's not about you, and it's not about the money. It's about caring for the game, caring for the fans. Because without the fans, we have nothing. Caring for the players who put a huge risk. I know because I talk to our guys what I expect. Look at Ronnie Lott cut off part of his finger so he could play in a playoff game. That was old school, and I don't think it's going to happen in this era. But, you're right, Pat. The games, if you want to just see how it's changed, put on the 85 Green Bay Packer Bear game, Forrest Greg Ditka. It's insane. Seriously, look at it, you go, this can't be possible. It looks like a World Wrestling Federation. Guys being thrown over the bench. Jim McMahon, without the ball, picked up, shaken, dumped on the ground head first, no flag. It's the most unbelievable thing you ever see in your life. When you look at that game, but I think the good news is, we're still playing a very physical game. We're still, we're trying to protect the edges. Like, debates come in is, do you take kickoffs out altogether? I'm not in favor of that.
Thank God. Thank you.
I don't like it not starting with the kickoff and starting with the ball on the 20, for instance. But we've limited injuries on kickoffs by changing certain rules. And
did you hate that when it changed, or no? You knew it was a
no,
necessity?
I'm okay with some changes that way. Look at. When I first started, the goalpost was in the end zone,
front of the end zone.
2 yards deep, man. So it was, it was a different era. Look at those guys who helped build the game. I just had Jim Brown in Chicago because I had the Ali Foreman belt, and he was close with Ali and Foreman. Jim is about 86, and his wife was very kind to bring him out from Los Angeles, and he was able to talk to the Chicago press, talk about Ali Foreman, what he remembered. His mind is still strong. He has a little trouble projecting his voice and is seated all the time. But it was such an honor to have him talk about Walter
Can we
Payton.
talk about the collection a little bit?
Sure, I'd love to.
Hey, you're a museum. You are a museum right now. You said you're a steward of the game. Do you feel like you're a steward of the history of all the things you're interested in as well? That's why you're buying everything up?
No question in the last 25 years, putting this together has been a very specific artistic pattern, if you will, led by, intuition and just knowing what works. And there's been so much, like, for instance, like, people don't know this famous museum in New York that had all the KGB spy equipment during the Cold War, bow ties that shoot, poison things. So it went out of business during COVID. So I bought the whole museum.
Let me get one of those
of course, the bow tie, we took the bullet out of it, and the poison's out of the pen. But that's like one of 500 things to go with this collection that has, Abraham Lincoln's pocket knife and John Lennon's guitar and Elton John's piano and the list goes on. But we also, Jackie Robinson's bat from the World Series, Muhammad Ali's robe that he first when he changed from Clay to Ali, his shoes against
Jim, you're doing exactly what everybody who ever says if I get money, I'm gonna help the things that I'm interested in.
Well,
and
that's
you've done that.
We sat around here and said, okay, we got a couple $100 million. Let's go buy some stuff. What do the people want to see? And we'd all say, no. I mean, if you go in someone's house, they go, well, I have these beautiful Monet paintings, but I have John Lennon's piano in the front room. What do you want to see? I want to see John Lennon's piano. I don't know anything about Monet. But let me see James Brown's, red jacket that he wore when he played. That's what I want to see. Yeah. And I think that's the way I put together the collection is, what do you really want to see? What really moves you, and also things that can transcend generations, hopefully. And that's the reason Lincoln. Hell yeah. And anything involving certain people in history. It's hard to the Kerouac scroll on the road. It's known by a lot, particularly writers and artists, but it has transcended 2 generations. Being written in the 50s. So you try to get things that really have that, but also what people want to see. For instance. It's telling a story of America, particularly in the second half of the 20th century, which the whole century was so remarkable. It's more than that, but it's a big part of that. So there's letters from jail from Charlie Manson, and they're frightening.
You got Chuck Manson.
Yeah. And people might say to you, why are you buying Charlie Manson? That could maybe be looked at as untoward and unwise. It's like, look it's part of history. I'm not,
it happened.
I'm not just excited about reading this psychobabble that's so insane when you read it, it's scary. But, that whole thing that happened, the world, the way it was in '69, and the way, look at part of the collection and part of the tour with the show and is, definitely a feeling of this is a great country. It's a toddler. We're making progress. It's not fast enough for anyone. We understand that. We understand the way, we're integrating as a country is unacceptable in some areas. But we have to take that spiritual realm and raise all boats in the harbor. I mean, look at Martin Luther King. Look what he did. When they raised his fist, they said, you don't raise your fist. Jesus wouldn't raise his fist. Gandhi wouldn't raise his fist. You have to go at it. The only thing that beats everything is love. Love every time beats hate, every time. If you come at hate with hate, it's not going to be good. You're going to get more hate. And so I think, the collection a lot too is talking about, these iconic artists that really, like John Lennon and others who really, sat there in a bag for peace that said, wrote Imagine and talked about
You getting into politics? You going to get into politics someday? I saw that tweet where you said, what did you say? I
Save
could
the
get 10
government.
people,
Give me 10 guys.
trillions of dollars. You said, now you're talking about making our world a better place. It feels like you're really
I'm glad
active.
you mentioned that. First of all, let me be very clear. You will never see me in politics. That's number one. But number two is I really think, I'm glad you brought that up, Pat, because my belief is at Stanford, at Harvard, at Yale, we should have a school that teaches presidents, senators, that are going to be leaders of this country, macroeconomics, foreign relations, just everything, speaking. I'm sorry, but just to see the choices in 2016 is unacceptable to me. This country has so much to offer.
Let's
and
go.
There's brilliance.
Let's go.
But we have to bring the right people up.
That's never going to happen, though, Jim. Did you hear you? You said I ain't never fucking doing it. That's what everybody says. That's what everybody says who has a brain. It's like, I'll take a pay cut. Everybody will hate me. No decision's the right decision. Nobody's going to do it.
Probably 10 years younger than me. I know Biden's taking it on, but it's a younger man's job.
Hey, last question here. We can't thank you enough, by the way, Jim. You're such a cool dude, bro.
Well, can I mention one thing before we hit the last question? September 9th, it's going to be big at Lucas Oil Stadium with this free concert. It's going to be magical. We have a lot of film crews there. One's making a Hollywood movie. One's HBO. One is Peter Berg doing a documentary. You know, just the whole night. We're looking at maybe 60,000 people there.
Let's go.
You know, Ann Wilson will be there, Buddy Guy. You know, Edgerrin James will be there. Some present players will be there for this kickoff concert 2 days before we open in Houston. So we just want to get that out there because we want all fans to get there and celebrate as a community, because we know what that means when we have that community celebration. That's why everything changes. That's the reason the great game we have means so much to the community. We gather as a community together. So just wanted to put that a message out there to all our fans.
I want to let you
And
know.
it's free. It's free,
We
Pat.
love that.
There you
We're
go.
doing it for you.
Yeah,
well, you should pay something.
Well, I mean, you guys got something out of me this year. I can't wait to be a part of your sweet
we
orders.
would pay you to be there. We
No,
love you.
no.
We love to have you there.
I'm lucky to be a part of the Colts organization. Getting to know you has been a cool thing. I think through this show, a lot of people have potentially gotten to know you as well. Not that other places haven't, but just know that I think personally, as somebody who is a billionaire, you're doing good with your money. You're doing good with your
What
time.
could I say? When you came to my office and told me your plan about retirement, I never thought we'd be sitting there and you'd be the megastar. Sorry for saying that, but it's true that you are, because you know your show and what you do and the entertainment you provide, you know, is David Letterman type. It's at the very top, and I always knew you had that potential. I knew you were going to go and be a comic and those things, which was great. But man, what you've accomplished, we're so proud of you that you're a Colt alumni player. I mean, you
Come
know,
on.
you represent.
I'm lucky. You helped me out a lot. by the way.
You represent so much about what we're about, and the fans just love you, Pat. So I'm always appreciative when you ask me on, that's for sure.
Well, we're lucky you stopped by. We won't get to you answer the last question. What's coming up next? The free concert, September 9th. Can't wait to see that, celebrate that. The NFL, not only are you a steward for the game, but I feel like the NFL is really the only sport in America where it's city versus city. It rallies everybody together. Doesn't matter your socioeconomic, doesn't matter your political affiliation, doesn't matter your religious affiliation. It brings everybody together. That's why the sport's so incredible. The fact you've been around it for so long, you should take a lot of pride in that. And I'm very lucky to be a Colt. I know Darius says the same thing.
Absolutely.
And once I become a billionaire, we'll have your ass back on, and you can buy me a Rolls Royce. Ladies and
You're
gentlemen,
moving there quickly.
Hey, come on, new money, inflation. What's it mean? How about, hey, we're not gonna even get into it. Crypto.
Well, plus you always make me look cool coming on your show. You know, you're younger, more hip. You know, I'm kind of a throwback to the old rock and roll era. So, you help my reputation. You know, I mean, you make me look, you know, really cool, and all my groupies out there really dig that. Because I don't really have any, so with you, maybe I'll gather a few.
Hey, well, it's your talent, it's your mindset, it's your mentality,
buddy.
it's your resume. Ladies
Love
and
you
gentlemen,
guys.
hey, we love you too. We'll be back after this 5-minute break. Ladies and gentlemen, the owner of the Indianapolis Colts, Jim Irsay. Thank you, buddy.